Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Let's Get Ready Network. I'm Adelia. I'm here with my buddy Chris Ingle. Brandi will be joining us shortly, and we're going to talk about Wicked, the movie, which is based on a musical that I've never seen and a book that I've never read. So I went into this blind. Chris, you have a different knowledge of it than I do, though.
Yeah,
So
I've
yeah,
seen the musical 3 times, read the book twice, audiobooked it once. Yeah, I think I know the material.
you know the material much better than I do. So, what were your initial thoughts on the movie?
Um, I posted it on Facebook, and I'm not a big Facebook poster, that thought this movie was perfect. I sat there enjoying it. Never once did I sit and go, or I cried. There were moments I cried, how good it was, and just everything was so great in this film. And I've seen movie musicals go bad that
Hmm.
shouldn't. And this did not disappoint. And I was a doubter. I was a doubter. Not anymore.
I think a lot of people were doubters about whether this could translate to the big screen. And I have never seen the musical, but I thought it translated well to the big screen because it made sense to me. And more importantly, it made sense to my mom. I saw this with my mom. She followed everything, she didn't get confused. She was disappointed when it ended where it did because she wanted the rest of the story. So, I think that that's a good sign for how this translated, and I think it'll also bode well for part two because, of course, there's going to be a part two of this next November.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know how I feel about the fact that they didn't market this as a part one of two thing. I think that that's kind of a mistake because there was someone in my theater who, when the title card came up and it said Wicked Part One, went, "Wait, there's a part two?" Like they were expecting the whole thing yesterday when I saw it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have upset some people, but it didn't. It doesn't bother me because I don't know what you would have changed about this movie to fit in the second half of the story.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I was worried when they first announced that they were going to split it into two halves. That what are you doing? I mean, like the play itself is just over 2.5 hours. Why can't you do that
Yeah.
here? And the reason why is that they are different mediums.
Hmm.
A stage musical is not cinematic. There are things that you need to do cinematically that are going to extend your running time. It just, if you want to tell a good story, things you have to do. You have to take your time. And this chose to do that. So I appreciate that. And they didn't cut anything. If you are familiar with the play, this follows it perfectly. There are some minor additions, and I'll go into those as we get into it, but it follows it perfectly beat for beat. All the songs are there, slightly rearranged at points. Dancing Through Life is extended a bit, and Wizamania is extended. But other than that, beat for beat. And of course, Defying Gravity, for good reason. Defying Gravity is also split up just a little bit as they're going through it cinematically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that Defying Gravity segment of the movie is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And give Cynthia Erivo all the awards as far as I'm concerned. She was amazing as Elphaba.
Oh, I want her to get this because that's her EGOT. She does it, she gets the EGOT. So I want this.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your favorite part of this movie, Chris?
Oh man, so hard to say. I think I think my favorite part of this overall is just the tone of it. It doesn't alienate anyone. Um the book is very politically driven. So some people it's very hard to get into. I love the book. I think it was a great take on it. But she comes off very cold and dark. Here there's a humanity to her that they do a little bit better. That I do really like. And the stage play does it too, but again, you're pressed for time with the stage play. So I think here I really felt for the characters as we were going through this. I was going along on the journey with them, and I forgot that I had already watched the musical, if you get what I mean. Like it just, it was like a new experience. and it was joyous, and I sat there loving it and wanting to sing. Didn't sing, wanted to sing. I will be going around Christmas when they do the sing-alongs to sing because I must. But that's what
Yeah.
this is that you can enjoy this if you are a fan of the musical or if you've never seen the musical. This works. You don't need either way for this to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that because, like, I've never, like I said, I've never seen the musical, and I think it works really, really well. I My favorite part of the movie was Cynthia's performance as Elphaba. It felt really powerful, and I connected to it a lot, much more so than Ariana's performance as Galinda. I just found her so incredibly annoying. I wanted her to shut up every time she opened her mouth.
But she's
Um,
supposed to be
I
that
understand
way.
that she's supposed to be that way. I do, and I get that that was the reaction that I'm supposed to be having to what they were putting on screen, but I just really didn't get into Ariana's performance at all because
What they do with her is very interesting in that she starts out very Mean Girls, very Heathers a little bit. She's mean, she's cruel, she's selfish, very self-indulgent. And you're not meant to like her at the start. You really aren't.
yeah,
Despite the fact that everyone else does. But then you see these moments of humanity in her when we hit the dancing through life sequence, and when Elphaba turns and does something super kind for Elphaba that's unexpected, it turns, and that dance scene, that silent dance scene, changes everything, and you forgive her annoyances, and you find out that, you know what, she's not mean. She's just never been confronted, and I don't think ever had someone like Elphaba in her life.
yeah. I think that's it exactly. Like, I could tell that this was the reaction I was supposed to be having to how Ariana was portraying her, but I don't know. Maybe it's because she reminds me too much of the girls that used to torture me in high school, and that's why I didn't like it. But if our other guest will give me a thumbs up when she is ready, Brandi will be here shortly. Yeah, she's not quite ready yet. But that movie opens in a way that I didn't think it was going to, with it being in the aftermath of the Wicked Witch of the West dying in The Wizard of Oz. And let's bring Brandi on now. Hi, Brandi.
Hello, guys.
How are we doing tonight?
Doing good.
How did you like this movie, Brandi?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. The way everything was shot and just the colors of it and like the acting, and I think everybody did a phenomenal job. Loved it. The music, of course. No singing in the theater, but
Little singing.
See, we want to sing.
Listen, I was on the side of my cousin, and I was singing, of course, Defying Gravity and Popular, but I was doing it low, like I was mouthing it. My cousin's like, I heard you. I said, well, you could still hear Ariana and Cynthia, so
I think one of the best things that they presented in this was that this very easily could have been a CG Happy Fest, and it's not. Chu does a really good job of sticking to the practical. And so what you don't realize is all the sets are practical. There is no CG in those sets. That train is an actual train they built and moved. And I was like, are you kidding me?
The library with the
revolving library, same thing.
The hamster wheel, or they called it the tornado wheel.
Yeah, but the practical nature of it makes it feel so much more real, and you're immersed in that environment. And I enjoyed that so much that when films do that, they don't rely heavily on CG. There's a little bit, it's there, but the majority of it, they said about 85% of what you see is actually practical.
That's really cool.
The hamster wheel thing, they had to have everything, like from the people flipping in the back, it had to be just right. I was watching the thing of them talking about it. that if that one guy messed up, they had to refilm everything. So like everybody had to be like on point with what they were doing. And they said they didn't really have to do many takes because everybody was right on point.
Yep.
It was phenomenal.
Oh, so great. And then of course the surprise of this. Oh, did we lose Adelia?
Oh, she freezes sometimes. It's okay.
Oh, okay. there was
just...
a nice surprise during the Wizamania sequence, which was great to see.
Mhm.
Loved that. That was a nice touch. I won't spoil it, but it was a nice touch.
Yeah, that was fun. At the beginning of the film, I was not expecting it to start after the death of the Wicked Witch of the West in Oz, in the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great way to like go into the flashback, which was the course of the rest of the film. What did you guys think of how they opened it?
Go ahead, Brandi.
Oh, I at first I was like, and then I was like, oh, but then we get the story of like, yeah, the Wicked Witch, but you could see kind of her face, like her facial, like she was kind of upset about it, but she had to play along like she wasn't, and now we see why, because, they did become friends after because they were roommates, but they weren't friends at first, but they did become friends. But it just goes to show you that everybody has a little bit of good and bad in them.
As it follows the book, the basic structure of the book is that, so that works, and of course the music translated that. So yeah, starting from that point is there, but I don't, especially since Adelia, you've not read the books and you've not seen the play. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the fact that they started from there is so important. The fact that you see Dorothy briefly, Dorothy and the trio is important. There is an important piece to that. So we'll get more of that in part 2, but you'll understand a year from now. It's important they did that the way they did it.
Okay. Because I was a little confused as to why we were starting at the end of or at that part of the Wizard of Oz and going into a flashback. Okay. So then we go to the flashback, and where did we start with the flashback again? Was that Glinda
her being
arriving?
Born.
Or
her being born.
Well, the parent, the mother having an affair with.
Right.
Yeah. That made me wonder something that I will not have you answer on this show because it's a spoiler.
Okay. What? Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. What is your question?
No. Don't do that.
I can't help it. Like,
I did wonder because we don't see the face of the guy that her mother had the affair with. By the time we got to the point where Elphaba was meeting the wizard, I was wondering if the wizard was her father. Do not answer that on this show, if you know the answer to that.
I do know the answer to this question.
Okay.
I won't tell you.
Because I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. You can tell me when we're done filming this, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone else.
I will tell you later.
But we have her father is the governor of Munchkinland.
He's a jerk.
He's an awful person.
Oh, he's so awful in the book too. It's terrible. And he's meant to be that way. But, when you think of his perspective, I don't agree with him at all. I mean, love your child no matter what. But I understand why he would feel this way.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was a terrible husband. He was never a terrible husband to his wife. It was just treated awfully.
So she's born and she's green and he freaks out and sends her away from him and his wife with was it a bear?
Yeah, kind of
like nanny. Yeah, the bear nanny.
So that I like that touch of the animals and why she's connected with animals who can speak.
It's really kind of confusing in the books too, because they talk about animals with a lowercase a, and that's everyday animals. But when you have animals with an uppercase a, it's Dr. Dillamond, it's the nanny, it's the talking animals. You know, Cowardly Lion. Yeah, those are talking animals.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you guys think of all of this sequence where we get the backstory of Elphaba and her birth and everything?
Chris?
Brandi?
No, me. Go, Chris. Go, Chris.
Chris can go
All right,
first.
fine.
Chris?
I hated her father even more with that. You know, the fact that, you know, in the original soundtrack, you hear, you know, take it away. You know, you don't see much more of it. Here, you see that anger, that disappointment that happens of what's going on. And you're like, whoa. But also the idea too, and we see it right away, and this is not in the play. We see images of Elphaba's power right away.
Yep.
That was a cool touch.
Yes, when she came out of the womb, you see she was, but she didn't know how to control him her whole life. That's what the thing is. She needed to learn to control. I liked the story. I hated, like I did hate the father, and I'm glad that she had the nanny to help, you know, help her. And you see, she wasn't. They made fun. The kids made fun of her and stuff, and she wasn't bad. Like you see that she wasn't the bad one. Really wasn't.
Yeah.
She just couldn't control her when she got upset. She couldn't control her power, and that wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
It was good to see. You know, it's a different side of the Wizard of Oz that we see with the Wicked Witch. You know, different perspective on things. She wasn't always an evil person.
Yeah. We also see her sister, Nessa
Rose.
Rose, who's in a wheelchair, but we don't know why at this point. And how whenever Elphaba uses her powers, it makes her sister really upset. And that, of course, foreshadows for when they get to the university. First, we have the Galinda arriving at the university with how many suitcases?
All of them.
All of the suitcases in Oz. I was like, she's the spoiled rich girl brat that I'm gonna hate, isn't she? As soon as I saw
because
that.
she's Galinda Upland of the Upper Uplands.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Elphaba walks up and everybody stops and stares, and Galinda says she's studying sorcery and offers to, help Elphaba get rid of why ever she's green.
Kind of racist.
It's very racist. It kind of reminds me of like the girl, like I said, she reminds me of one of the girls that used to just torture me when I was in high school. And the way they'd be like fake nice to me, that was like Galinda fake nice to Elphaba, just because it would get her clout and attention and all of that. I like, though, that Nessa is supposed to be the student at the university, and Elphaba was not supposed to be there until the incident at the orientation where Elphaba uses her powers, and Michelle Yeoh's character, whose name I do not remember,
Madame Morrible,
just recognizes something in Elphaba and says she will take care of everything, and she's going to be her student in the sorcery seminar, after she'd already turned down Galinda, who wants to be a student in her sorcery seminar. What did you think of all this stuff we had with the orientation of the students and everything? Chris, we'll start with you.
I love the choice of the students. Bowen Yang actually he plays one of Galinda's lackeys. He's from SNL. What is an interesting choice is that in the musical, that character was female. They switched it up, little gender bending, and they did that on purpose. And I really like that. I love the friends here because they're just as fake as she is.
Oh yeah. They're kind of like her puppets. I mean, she's they're the puppeteers. She's the puppet.
Yeah. She's the face. The thing that was interesting here that was different is that in the book and in the musical, she too is already she's going to be a student. That's it. And Nessa Rose got in with her. That's the way it is. Here they flipped it a little bit, but it makes sense that all of the effort and the money and the time and attention will go to Nessa Rose, which is something that continues throughout the story in every version, is that the governor loves Nessa Rose more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Brandi?
Favorite sister. I liked the scene. You get to see how they were, and Elphaba wasn't the student. She was just there to look after her sister and make sure she got settled in. And the lady was pushing her, and she's like, my sister don't like to be pushed, and they were trying to get her to stop. And that's when things happen, because again, she can't control her powers. So when she gets upset in some way, that's when it happens. And then Madame Morble saw her powers and was like, that's the one I'm going to train. That's the one that needs the most guidance, and kind of took her under her wing. And we see why toward the end of the movie, but at that point, she's like, I can help you control everything. And so, of course, Elphaba's going to jump at the chance, like, you can help me? Like, definitely. She becomes a student there herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that Madame Morble taking credit for what Elphaba had done, so that the students aren't, afraid of Elphaba than they already are because of the color of her skin, was a really nice thing to have happen there as well, because everybody already thinks that Elphaba is really weird. She knows how they're going to act because it's how she's been treated her whole life, and she's down by the docks does that whole thing with, I'm not seasick, I didn't eat grass growing up, She repeats that a couple of times throughout the movie. But I really like that offer. It just froze again, didn't it?
Yeah,
who would offer to share a room with Elphaba, and Galinda volunteers without even knowing what she's volunteering for.
Yes, because I think she went to go ask her something. She's like, oh, you're gonna do it. It's like, yeah, what? Didn't know what was going on. She just wanted to get in the class. That's what she wanted, to go see the teacher's pet.
Yeah, that's what she wanted. I also like that we sort of see the start of the getting close and befriending of each other of Nessa and Bach, the kid from Munchkin Land.
Bach, Bick. Bick Bach.
Yeah.
Okay, I just found this out, and I don't know how I did not realize this. That's Ariana Grande's husband.
That's Ariana Grande's boyfriend.
I thought they were married. Seriously, like I thought
the guy who plays Bach.
Yeah,
I did not know this.
That's a.
Hold on, like real quick, I'm gonna double check my work. But yeah, no, I had somebody had told me that, and I was like, no way.
No,
I was wrong.
He was married to somebody else when she was doing this, and then
there he is.
It's a different.
Oh, you're right. They're engaged, but who knows? Yeah. But what I didn't know is that this guy has Broadway roots.
Yes,
he was the original SpongeBob on Broadway.
Yes,
in the SpongeBob. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I knew that.
So yeah,
I think a lot of them that were in the cast have come from a Broadway or musical background in some way. I felt like all the kids might have been Broadway kids. Like they just felt like that energy. Like from Broadway. I don't know if they were, but they had that energy.
So the scene with Galinda when Elphaba shows up at her room, and how she's made room for Elphaba, but not really, I thought was pretty good. Brandi, what did you think about all that?
The one little, I got some room, moved right, here's your bed right there, and then you see her moving the stuff, and then they get moved back, and I thought that was funny, the little back and forth, but like, you moving my stuff, no, this is gonna be my space. And then when they were sleeping and her putting the light on, and it just like lights up everything, and then Elphaba's like took the lamp out because it was too pink.
Clearly none of you have ever stayed in a college dormitory.
I have.
Oh, see, you know that's so true to life.
But the dorm I stayed in, the roommates were not bad, so no, it wasn't that bad. but I have stayed at a dorm quite a few times. Not my own dorm because I did not go to college, but stayed at a friend's.
All right, where did we go from here? Was it when they were in class, or was it when Fiero
So it's
showed up?
loathing. It's loathing. He doesn't show up yet because the first thing they do, we're introduced to Dr. Dillamond
That's right.
and the first class.
The talking goat in the first class.
Mhm.
And he is trying to talk about the history of Oz
Mhm.
and the animals that can talk and think and are intelligent. And that's when he flips the board over and it says animals must be seen, not heard, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And he's very upset about this. And so is Elphaba. And we know why, because she had the bear nanny back when she was a child. This made me really mad too, that like
Mhm.
this is part of this story, is we're trying to silence a group of intelligent beings just because they're different. And I'm glad that I'm glad that it's in here, but like I get so irrationally angry about things like this. I
Mhm.
would have been just as upset as Elphaba was.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because like this losing civil rights and all of that is something that, you know,
Yeah.
is important to not have happen. And it makes me mad that it's happening to these animals. I can't wait to find out where that goes towards the end of this. I like Dr. Dillamond a lot. I think he's
I
a
did
cool
too.
character.
I
I
did
thought
too.
they
That was
did
good.
really well with the I'm sure those characters were CGI.
That was CG, yes.
Yeah, I thought they did really well with the CGI on the talking animal characters. And then is this when Fiero shows up?
After that, yeah, Fiero shows up for the first time.
And I don't know what to make of Fiero. Like, what is he a prince of? They never.
Okay, so he is the Prince of Winkyland.
Okay.
Pinky Winky. Sorry.
So hold on. So if you remember in the original 1939, you remember the those guys, those are Winkies. In the original Broadway run of it, he actually was blue. They changed that. They stopped that. But those are Winkies. And with the Wicked Witch of the West, the Western Land is Winkyland. And so he was the prince, the leader of Winkyland.
Okay. But he shows up and Galinda loses her mind for him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And there's the great scene in the library as Galinda's giving him a tour.
Elphaba met him in the woods first.
Oh, that's right. Elphaba meets him in the woods first. I have that backwards.
Mhm.
And he almost runs her over with a horse that also talks.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And she just basically like brushes him off, does the whole "I'm not seasick, I didn't eat grass" thing again,
Mhm.
and heads back to campus. And he tells the horse he'd never
Well,
been spurned before.
I laughed when he's like, she said, I didn't eat grass, and he's like, I did. I don't know if
Yeah,
you caught
that was
that.
funny.
But I laughed. I'm like, he did eat. You can see.
Oh, that horse. Yeah.
No, the prince ate.
Oh,
ate
the
grass.
prince. Okay.
the prince said, I did.
Yeah,
Which I thought was funny.
that was funny. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about the introduction of Fiero into this, Chris?
I think it's charming enough. Again, not in the book or not in the play, not in the book. Nice touch though.
Mhm.
I really like him. He's charming. He's got that Prince Charming feel.
Mhm.
He reminds me very much of Cinderella's prince from Into the Woods, played by Chris Pine.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of that charm to him, except as we continue to go through, we notice there are some redeeming factors to him that
Mhm.
quickly become prevalent.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought it was interesting. Like he didn't like, he wasn't one to shy away from Elphaba or like be weirded out by her or anything. I liked him. I thought he was I thought he was a good character to interpret.
I liked him too.
Mhm.
I liked him too. And then, of course, Glinda finds out he's coming to campus, offers to give him a tour, steals someone's book to make it look like she's reading.
Of course.
And this is when we get the library scene that we were referencing earlier. I think this library scene is fantastic.
I loved it. It was my favorite.
It was great. It was really great. The choreography, like everything to get everyone in the right place at the right time and jumping through that thing of books is really great. So,
The
Chris,
wheel.
what do you think? The
Oh,
wheel?
yes, I love the choreography in this, and John Chu's strength as a director when it comes to musicals are these large scale numbers. I mean, we see it actually really at the start of it with Good News, the Witch is Dead. That's that opening number. It's huge. Everyone's singing and doing things. It's amazing. This does it. The Ozdas Ballroom, and then Wizamania later. The large numbers, you feel the energy and passion that is in this, and so this goes with it. And again, you mentioned it, Brandi. The choreography in the spinning room is amazing. The ladder climbers, beautifully well done. The camera work, I can't imagine the camera work
They had to.
Yeah,
They had to get it all. Yeah, I was watching. Like I said, I was watching a thing. They were talking about that specific scene on YouTube. I was watching it, and they had to get them all precisely. The camera people to the dancers, the people that were doing the tricks and the thing were part parkour. So they're dancers and they're parkour people. So they had to get them just right because timing you get the timing wrong on that and it falls apart. You can get hurt, and they didn't want nobody hurt. So they were just making sure everything was in place, and they did it phenomenally. So the person that he had to jump over the guy and then run and jump in between his legs at the one that he did to jump over the camera and flip, and he goes, that guy was really high. For him to do that, to flip over the camera and then run across and jump through the prince's legs when he was on the table, and then he had to run in the back and come and flip in the back, and you see all the way of it come together. That guy messed up. That whole scene had to be redone, and they were like, boom, 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 everybody on point. Even Ariana, they were impressed with. She's like, Ariana's not like a background dancer like them, but she could put in the choreography and get it, so she fit right in with all of it.
There was something I noticed too with Bach that I really enjoyed that I started to pick up on. Every time Bach introduces himself, he stands on a book or something to raise him up because he's a munchkin. A little thing that I never noticed until looking back at like clips and stuff. Like, oh yeah, he does that a lot. So cute.
He does, yeah.
Even though he's a munchkin, but he's like the same size or a little bit taller than Ariana.
Yeah. So Fiero convinces basically all of them to go to the Ozdas Ballroom.
The Ozdas Ballroom.
That night to go clubbing, basically. That's what clubbing in Oz is really cool. And Galinda convinces Bach to ask Nessa to come along with them. And I sort of felt really bad for Nessa here because you can tell Bach is only doing this because he likes Galinda at first, even though I think he likes Nessa.
But I also feel bad for Bach because he likes Galinda, but Galinda's getting him to do something else. Yeah. So I feel bad for him too because she don't want to date him. She's like, oh, why don't you go and ask Vanessa?
Yeah. And so they this goes back now to her room she shares with Elphaba, and Galinda is getting dressed for the clubbing at the ballroom, and they find, is it Bowen Yang's character whose name I never caught, finds the witch's hat.
Yeah.
And
she said her aunt made it, right?
Yeah,
their
her
names are, let me see, where is it? Fanny and Shen Shen.
Fanny.
Okay.
Fanny and Shen Shen.
He's Fanny. That's right. He's Fanny.
Okay. I never caught their names, either one of their names in the whole thing. So But they ask Galinda where she got it. She says her aunt made it for her, and then she wouldn't give it to anyone unless she hated them, and then she gives it to Elphaba,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't like
I
at
didn't like
first.
that either. I didn't like
But
it either.
I think the way that it comes around when it gets to the ballroom scene, I think it works. But when she was like, I wouldn't give this to anyone unless I hated them, and then the next thing she does is give it to Elphaba to wear to the ballroom that night, I was just like, that's really mean, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really messed up.
Yeah.
I can't
Chris.
talk about that scene because I had to walk out.
Yeah. Brandi missed the ballroom scene.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris.
So good. I love the design. The animal band was great. Costumes were fabulous. And the silent dance is an addition that is in neither source material that I love so much, because it's Elphaba saying, you know what? I don't care what you have to say. I'm going to have a good time whether you wanted me to or not. And Galinda realizing that so Nessa Rose tells Galinda, I really want to go to this. I want to have one night to myself. And she understands that. And it was, it's Galinda that made that happen. So she goes running to Madame Morrible and says, I need your help with something. Okay. So in the Ozdust ballroom, Madame Morrible hands Galinda a training wand. She's like, what's this for? Miss Galinda insisted that if I was going to train her, or Miss Elphaba, I had to train you too. While I think this is a horrible idea, I can't afford to lose her. So be in class on Monday. And so she got her in the seminar. And I think that shift was, realizing it. So Galinda goes down and does a silent dance that's really strange, really weird. With Elphaba. Galinda and Elphaba do it together. And
Elphaba does it first, and then Galinda
Elphaba starts as kind of showing to everybody else, but Galinda joins in, everyone laughing. But then eventually they all kick in. It reminds me of this scene. Did you ever see A Knight's Tale?
Mm.
And do you remember the dance? Yeah, the dance scene in A Knight's Tale. That's what this reminded me of. Like everyone's making fun and being odd, and yet they're just proud to be themselves. And their friendship truly bloomed at that moment.
Yeah. It was a really lovely scene. I like everything that went into all of it. Yeah, I'm sorry you missed it, Brandi, because it really is nice.
I had to run to the bathroom.
There was also a lovely moment before Elphaba and Madame Morrible show up where Bach gets Nessa out onto the dance floor, and he's like spinning her chair around, and they're doing all the hand.
That was after the fact. That was after.
Dance. Was that after?
Yeah.
I thought it was before.
Because it's during the dance. It's during the reprise of Dancing Through Life.
Okay. Well, whenever it was really, really lovely to see how they incorporated getting Nessa into that as well, I thought. And then when everybody's dancing and everything, and then Galinda and Elphaba leave and go back to their room and basically talk all night, because the sun comes up while they're in there. And Galinda wants to tell each other one thing that they've never told anyone else before. And Galinda's is that she's going to marry Fiyero.
He just doesn't know it yet.
He just doesn't know it yet. And Elphaba's is that her father hates her. And then she tells Galinda the reason why her father hates her. And it's the milk flowers thing, having her mom eat milk flowers when she was pregnant with Nessa, because that way hopefully she wouldn't turn out to be green like Elphaba. It made Nessa be born early with legs that didn't work, and her mother never woke up, and that's why her father hates her.
Mm-hmm.
And Galinda says something really lovely there along the lines of, that may be your secret, but that's not true. It's the milk flower's fault, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, what did you think of that scene?
It's a nice touch, and again, them coming together and learning more about what happened to Nessa Rose and why she's in the scenario that she's in, but also the realization that that Elphaba is just, in a way, trying to get the approval of her father, even though she kind of knows she's never going to get it, but she wants it, and so she protects Nessa, and I do believe she loves Nessa.
I do too.
And yeah, there are things that'll come up in the second act or second movie that definitely you see she loves her sister. She does. And so this is really nice.
Brandi, did you see this part or not?
I saw the end about the milkweed. I saw that part, but I came in toward that end of that when they were, and then she was gonna make her popular. Like,
yeah, and then this goes into popular, which
yeah.
I thought that this was a good scene, but I was also so annoyed with Ariana's like dance moves and movements and everything. Just like, I don't know. This is where I started to get really annoyed with Ariana. Like, not with Galinda. Like, I wasn't really annoyed with Galinda. I was just really annoyed with Ariana. I don't know why. This is irrational, and I realize it. But yeah, I thought Popular was pretty good. What did you think of Popular?
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite songs. I was like, you know that because I showed you it. You hadn't heard it before, and then I go ahead and tell you that I love that song. But I did love the scene of her, and then they're helping her. She's decided she's going to help her now.
Chris, what do you think?
I love Popular. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the most popular songs for this musical, and it's so cute. Everything they do, and this is where Ariana Grande shines. This is her song, and it works.
And this is where Adelia found her annoying.
There's a funny clip as they're practicing online. They're practicing that. Yeah. And so their stunt coordinator is in the corner, and she whacks him in the head, but he doesn't move an inch. She's just watching.
He just came close and like he didn't even flinch, really.
Yeah. And Cynthia Erivo's like, it's great.
I've seen
the
that
chandelier work on that. That was really good.
Yeah. I thought that was good, and it was a good interpretation of Popular. Like, Ariana Grande can sing, so it's not like they cast someone who is an okay singer for this. She can really sing, so it was well done. But yeah, this, I don't know why. I told you it's irrational. I don't know why, but I started getting really annoyed with Ariana here, and then especially the part where she dances in the hallway after Elphaba leaves. I thought that was so incredibly cringy. I don't know why, but I did.
I liked it. It was fine.
Yeah. So after that, we go to Dr. Dillamond.
It is her meeting with Dr. Dillamond in his home, where he reveals.
Well, first we went to class where.
Because we have 3 moments with Dr. Dillamond. There's the class. Then she eventually follows him home, where she discovers what he believes is really going on here. And it kind of awakens it to her. And then they have history class where he's taken away and they replace it with another teacher and the lesson with the cub.
Okay, I think if I'm remembering correctly, that she follows him home is before Fierro shows up.
Yeah, when she
meets Fierro is when she's walking home from Dr. Dillamond. So we skipped over that part. My bad.
It's a long movie, guys. We're out of it.
It's a long movie. We've only seen it once. So
far.
Yeah, so far. I love all the stuff with Dr. Dillamond. Him meeting with the other animals and the other animals being afraid to be around Elphaba because, it's people like her, they think, that are kind of taking away the animals' rights. But she was so insistent that the wizard could help the animals. And I was like, I don't think that's going to go the way you think it's going to go, Elphaba. And it didn't. But after Popular is we go to class, and that's when they come and Dr. Dillamond announces his retirement and they take him away.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to give him she goes to give him the flowers, and he's like, not right now.
Yeah.
So she has poppies in her hand.
Yeah.
At her
His
desk.
favorites.
His favorite. So she has
Yep.
poppies at her desk, and they bring in the new professor, Nicodick. Is that right? And he wants to do a demonstration with a live lion cub that's in a cage. And this
That
makes
is a capital A animal, to be clear.
capital A animal. Yeah. That Elphaba is really upset about, and her magic does its thing and sends the poppies all through the room and puts everyone to sleep except her and Fiero. They take the lion cub, they leave, they get on bicycles with baskets that just happen to be by the road, and
yeah, I know. Okay, we think of too.
And they go release the lion cub in the forest, and they share a moment here that I thought was really great. Brandi, what did you think of all of this?
Oh, I thought it was good. And at that moment, you see she kind of controlled her power a little bit, because everybody else fell asleep, and the poppy stayed in those one position. And the Madame Morble came in and seen that.
Yeah.
Right? She came and seen all the poppies, and she knew who it was. And I like that they had that moment that they rescued the cub. Poor little thing. He was so cute.
He was adorable.
He was adorable, and I'm so glad. And yeah, that bike scene did remind me of that. Toto.
I'm sure we'll never, ever see that young lion cub ever again.
That's gonna be the
well, and that's the thing you've got to remember as you're watching this play. It doesn't matter whether you're reading the book. This is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. So everything you know as the story, there are little pieces of it here or there in here, and this happens to be one of those that we see.
Put them up.
And then Fiero goes into the forest to release the lion cub, and Elphaba makes her way back to campus, and there's a great song as she's making her way back to campus. I don't know the name of it, but I really enjoyed it.
I'm Not That Girl.
Okay. Yeah. And then it's after that, right, that Morble writes to the wizard and says whatever she says to him.
The spell seemed that Elphaba did the poppy spell, made her go, that's it. And she goes back, instead of fixing it, goes back to her office and starts writing a letter to the wizard right away.
Yeah. And they get the balloon coming in from the Emerald City with a letter for Elphaba inviting her to go see the wizard. They go next to the train station for Elphaba to leave, and Galinda is worried about Fiero because he's not been the same since the
lion
class.
Since the class. And this is where Galinda shortens her name to Glinda
in honor of the goat that couldn't say Galinda.
Correct.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, also strange, and I don't know why they didn't just name her Glinda in the first place. I was a little confused about the Galinda thing. They first started introducing her character.
That's also in the book as well.
Yeah. And then she gets Elphaba on the train, but then Elphaba had forgotten something, so Glinda is running up to give it to her, and Elphaba tells her to come with her.
Also, get us with the Bach, the stuff with Bach, and
stuff with Bach. Yeah, Bach is so happy and everything, applauding and everything. Glinda's decision to change her name, and Nessa sees this and gets upset and leaves.
Yep.
So they're on their way to the Emerald City, and
Hops on the train with her.
Then this is when we get the big
Glinda hops on with
hop on the train with her.
Mm-hmm.
The train's really cool. I like the train a lot, and it's cool that they built that practically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a cool set.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and the design as they go up of the poppy fields and the land, and then driving into the Emerald City is just absolutely fabulous. Love it.
Yeah. And so we are in the Emerald City now, and they disembark the train, and they go into the city, and they come across like a play being done in the city. And I thought this was really well done to give us a little bit of backstory on the wizard, on this book that's going to become important in a few minutes.
So this is very different. This is one of the big changes they made, which I appreciate. So this is during the One Short Day sequence, and it's Wizamania. So what we get is this backstory of the Grimoire, this book that apparently the wizard can read, but most Ozians cannot read it. They can't. And the idea is that whoever can read it must have power. And so they made him the wizard because he could read from the Grimoire. That's kind of the whole backstory that we get of Oz in what was going on, told in a nice cameo. I won't spoil it, but it's a nice cameo.
It's a spoiler review, Chris. We can say who the cameo
is. It? Oh, good. It's Kristen Chenoweth and Adina Menzel.
Adele Azim.
Adele Azim, yeah. And this is one of my absolute favorite moments, period. I knew they were going to be in it. I didn't know where. They gave them a song to sing, not just like one line or a quick and they get to do little things with their counterparts. And one of my favorite moments,
covering Ariana Grande's mouth.
Yes, she goes to start to do the high note and she just covers her mouth and does it herself. That's so Kristen Chenoweth, and I love it.
It was really great seeing them in this. I figured that there might be a cameo by them in this since they originated the roles on Broadway, but I didn't know where it was going to come in. And since we were so far into the movie and we hadn't seen them yet, I was like, oh, maybe it's in the second part. But I'm glad that they were in this and got to do this. But
I was so excited. I was like, and I kept listening. I was like, they're the originals on Broadway. Telling my cousins and stuff.
Yeah. That was great. So then after all of that is done, they go to the palace, the castle, whatever it is. And they get in and see the monkey guards,
who do not have wings at this point.
Monkeys do not have wings. Yeah, I noticed that immediately. I was like, the monkeys don't have wings yet. That's what my immediate thought was. The monkeys don't have wings yet. Like, how did we get to that? And then we find out they meet the wizard. He does the trickery thing first with the big head. And then he, when he asks who they are and she says alphabet, then he comes out. And
why didn't you say so?
Can't see through that thing very well and all of that. And then he shows them the big plan for Oz in that like miniature, and they take
miniature is about as big as me.
but compared to, that's what miniatures for movies look like, though. They're not small. They're just like a 6 scale of what an actual building would be or whatever. So there's this miniature of Oz, and the part that I really hated about this was them deciding what color the brick road should be. Why?
They were the ones to decide what color it was.
In the play, he already built the road of yellow bricks, so I was like, all right, fine. There had to be something. Although the model was cool, just a little, what color should it be? It was neat.
It was cute.
The model was cool, but like I just don't know why they couldn't have just already said it was going to be the yellow brick road. Anyways, that's a very minor nitpick in an otherwise interesting scene, because then Madame Morrible shows up, and the wizard asks Elphaba if it's her heart's desire to change her skin color, basically, and instead she wishes to help the animals of Oz. which you can tell immediately is something that the wizard was expecting, maybe, but not going to go along with.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they encourage her to try to read from this book, The Grimoire, and she can.
Mm-hmm.
And the incantation that she says makes the monkey guard in the room sprout wings.
Because he told her his wish is to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so she reads that to give him wings.
Yes.
But it's not his wish to fly.
Yeah.
It's the wizard's wish.
So then they discover that all the monkey guards now have wings, and Elphaba is horrified at this.
Because it was hurting them.
Yeah. But the wizard and Morrible are very excited about this because now that will be helpful for them to use them as spies.
Spies in the sky, they said. And she's like, wait, what? Spies in the sky? Well, just somebody to look over the city. And I'm like, the way you just worded that was not cool.
Yeah.
Definitely not cool.
This is when Elphaba realizes that they're the reason that the animals are losing their rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the wizard can't read the book and has no real magic.
Well, the wizard, he can read the book, but he has no power. He doesn't understand it, but he can read it. That is kind of an important plot point.
Okay, I didn't get that he.
I didn't get that. No, I didn't get that either.
And maybe I'm reading into that. In the book,
no, he didn't.
The play they skipped that. In the book, he could read it, but he had no power.
No,
Morrible had the power, but couldn't read it. So Elphaba had the ability to do that, and that's what they touched on here.
But I got the same as Adelia. He couldn't read the book.
Because if you
the only one that Morrible could read a few parts of it. She couldn't read everything because that's what she said that she.
If you
she
go
could
back
read
to the Wizamania part, the part of him opening it up and reading to the people, that's true. He could read the book. That's why they thought he was magical. Because initially, when he came and looked at the Grimoire, he could read it. No one else could. But they thought he had magical powers. So I took that as he can read it, because in the book he could read it as well, but had no power.
But he also could just be like totally fooling all of them.
That's true. That's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
So I don't think it's clear on whether he can read it or not, but I definitely didn't get the sense that he can read that book.
I didn't get that either at all. I know the lady, she could, but just a few words here and there, but not.
Yeah. And so Elphaba takes the book and runs off. And Glinda goes to follow her. And we get a pretty interesting, like, trying to get the monkeys to fly and go get her sequence in that hallway with the glass windows. And I just thought all of this was really well done. Brandi, what did you think?
Oh, yeah, it was definitely well done. All the, like you said, like we said before, everything is done, the way they did it. And it was her running down the hallway and all the monkeys trying to come through the windows and getting her and Glinda and running through and going into the room, and then all that, trying to go into the guards coming in and going into the hot air balloon that didn't quite make it all the way. Like that whole sequence and scene, I was like, I'm biting my nails. I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? Let's go. I knew it was coming though.
I loved all the little touches and homages to not only the 1939 film, but also Disney's Oz movie as well. There are little touches here and there to both. Disney's done 2 Oz movies, and they did touches to both. So the balloon sequence was great. I absolutely love that sequence.
Yeah, she tries to escape. They try to escape in a hot air balloon. The guards are coming after them now. Morrible goes on an intercom system of some sort that seems to be able to be heard anywhere in Oz, and announces that Elphaba is a wicked witch who's got the Grimoire and has stolen it, trying to get everyone to go after her. Glinda attempts to convince Elphaba to reconcile with Morrible and the wizard, but
Mhm.
Elphaba decides to stop their plans
Mhm.
instead, and that's when we get the Defying Gravity, which is probably my favorite song. What'd you think, Brandi?
Oh, it's definitely my favorite song, and I was singing it. And her getting her, so she was trying to read from the book because she's like, she gave the monkeys fly. She goes, well, I'll read it again to help her fly. And they're like, you don't have wings, but what we see is the broom that was at the bottom of the thing start coming up, and that's her wings. She can fly with that, and her jumping out the window and trying not to escape everybody, and then her flying around. First, Glinda gives her a big cape, so that's where she gets her big cape
Yeah.
from. Glinda gives it to her, and she's flying with the cape with the black hat and the broom. And that was just her and singing Defying Gravity and that whole thing and coming together. Oh my god. Chills. Chills, chills, chills. They did phenomenal.
Yeah,
Love
this was phenomenal. Like I said at the beginning of this, give Cynthia Erivo all the awards. Just give them to her now. She's such a powerful actress, and this is such a powerful moment because of the way that she portrays it. It's just great. Chris, what'd you think of all of this?
Score this number so hard. I loved it. The touch of her jumping out the window and then seeing herself finding that courage within herself and finally being able to control her power and do what she needed to do was so great. And the touch of the cape, which is an homage to the play. In the play that happens, you see the cape grow. So fabulous, and the fear and everything you see in everyone else's face, like she's pissed and she's done, and it's just so great. They rearrange it slightly, so the whole time I'm sitting there waiting for them to go, so if you care to find me, I was waiting for that, and they held it and they held it and they held it. I love that. Like, we know you want it, but they built it well. This by far is a great climax, great way to end the film. But it's so different from the Broadway version that I couldn't believe it. And again, tears, genuine tears as I was watching it.
It's fantastic. This is my favorite scene in the movie. It's really good.
It was really good. Loved
And
it.
so she escapes out after like knocking out the power, which I thought was a really cool moment in this. And she's going out into the west, I guess. We also see Fiyero leave the university in this sequence, which I figure is important. Because otherwise, why would we see that in there? And yeah, that's the movie. Really good.
Yep.
I
will
don't
see it again. I will see it again.
Yeah. I don't like how this we have to wait a year now for the conclusion.
This is like the Twilight movies all over again, except this at least this I'll only get one. I have to, not like multiple.
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot. I'm okay now that I've seen it, that I understand. I'm like, okay. I'm going to say, though, I think people critically are probably going to gripe against the second one because most of the really noticeable songs are in the first act. And that's normal in Broadway history.
Yes.
That's normal. So I think there's going to be an amazing critical success for this one. And that a lot of people are going to go to the second one, but only the diehards are really going to truly appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
I can see this getting a lot of award nominations in this upcoming award season.
You quote me now. Costumes, makeup, set design, easily. Sound design, easily those four. That's going to Wicked, no questions asked. And if Erivo is not nominated for an Oscar, and you know what? I think Ariana Grande could get a nomination, although they were saying that the studios are selling it as Erivo gets Best Actress nom, and Ariana would get Best Supporting Actress.
Supporting.
But they're like,
Yeah.
that's not fair because this is an equal partnership here.
Yeah, but the studios, I think, always tend to do that with two powerhouse performances in the same movie because they don't want them pitted against each other in the same category.
See, the Tonys, on the other hand, that was not the case. In the
Mm-hmm.
Tonys, both were marketed as Best Actress when they went up in the Tonys. Of course,
Yeah.
Idina Menzel won, Kristen Chenoweth did not.
Mhm.
But they went up against each other, and I think it should be the same.
Mhm.
Because she's just as important in here. And just because you're in it maybe for a few seconds less,
Yeah.
I agree with
that. I agree with you.
If Defying Gravity is not nominated,
I don't
won't
think
be.
Defying
It can't
Gravity can be
Why not?
nominated.
No music from this
yeah.
can be nominated.
Ugh.
Cannot
It
be.
wasn't. I mean, the score might for the parts that are
Yeah.
not the musical songs, but the original songs from the musical were created for the musical, so they're not original to this film, so they can't be used.
Now, we do know that the second one that'll come out next year, Steven Schwartz did write some new original songs for it. So we will see what happens down the line. But Wicked Part 1,
none of them.
Nope.
Is there any of them that were?
No, they only added to them, but they're all beat for beat in there perfectly. They just extended a little
Even
bit
if
or add a little bit.
If they change it a little, they still can't.
Still not an original song.
It sucks. It does suck.
And the score's not original technically either. I don't think that's gonna, because that was Schwartz as well. I don't think that's gonna get nominated, but that's okay.
Well, if he wrote it for the movie, the score part, if he wrote that for the movie, then that could get nominated.
Maybe because I was listening to it and all of the score parts were dead on where they should have been with the motifs and the transitions and all the stuff I remember from the play. That's possible. But you know what? It's the Academy. They're picky. They're so stubborn.
They're very picky. They've disqualified things because it's 1% less original than their threshold or whatever. So
yeah,
they're very picky about the music.
We'll find out in January? End of January?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining us here today on our Wicked review. I think the three of us will probably convene next November to do a review of Wicked Part 2. But Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at cingle1984. I also have a Star Trek podcast on the Page Turners They Were Not Network. You can find that anywhere you can find streaming and podcasts.
All right. And Brandi, what about you?
You can find me here, sometimes with Adelia, doing Happy's Place reviews and whatever show that we come across. Also, our Christmas things that we've been doing, the Christmas movie. And couples therapy with Justin. We should be filming soon we watched Gremlins, so that's going to be coming up. So, and then in the Discord, always in the Discord.
Yeah, in the Discord. Yeah, you can join our Discord by becoming a member over on our Ko-Fi page, ko-fi.com/LGR_network. $3 a month gets you into our Discord and gets you into game night, which we tried to have on this past Friday, but the Jackbox servers went down, so we couldn't have it. But those are always fun. And then there are other tiers as well if you want to support the channel. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. Just please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That really will help us out a lot. We're getting so close to 1,000 subscribers. I really want to hit it by the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. We do movie reviews, and we have our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch show that we will still have an episode coming out on Thanksgiving, even though it won't be live because obviously it's Thanksgiving. That's the Rewatchers Council. Check that out Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then I don't know if there's an After Snark next weekend or not. Maybe there will be, but LGRN After Snark will be back soon. And then you can also find me over on the Highlights channel with Snark doing Starting 11, our Premier League recap show. That's Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific. I believe Ferris Muthana might be joining us for that one, so that'll be fun. But thank you everyone for joining us. Matt in the chat said, "Great show, guys. Great review. Thank you very much, Matt."
You could find me crying in the Discord next weekend because I'm turning older.
I'm not gonna let you cry. I'm not
21,
gonna
right?
We'll cry.
No. But until next time, everybody, we are out of here.